What is up, everybody? This is Lloyd from Iron Dog Journey, and I'm just thinking about dreams and dreaming big. And, sometimes we tend to limit ourselves, with what we're able to do, or, because we allow our mind to keep us in a box, and there's truly no limits. We create the world we live in from the moment we wake up till the time we go to bed. What we tell ourselves um, pretty much stops us or helps us along our path with success. I know that sounds crazy because a lot of times we feel like, oh, well, I can only do what I can do. It's like you could probably do a lot more than you think you can do, but, your paradigm stops you from truly winning. And anyway, I wanted to share a little story with you about how I did such a thing. How I went from, and I'm gonna really really condense this because this is kind of a big story, and it's a long story, but it's my life. But I'm gonna try to quickly sum it up so that you can kind of see. I'll paint this picture for you, first of all, of a kid in junior high, all the way up till junior high. I was in high school. What am I talking? Junior high. All through high school, I was shy. I was very, very shy. Um, Went to 9 schools in 12 years, so I ended up being extremely shy. I didn't fit in. I didn't know how to make friends. Um, I was, tall and gangly and insecure, and I just didn't think like anybody else. Had a rough childhood in ways, and that's another story. But essentially, I just didn't make friends, and I didn't make girlfriends. I didn't have groups of friends, etc. You get the picture. I didn't have friends. Okay, what a loser. Okay. All right. So flash forward. I was mid-20s, and I had married. So obviously I did meet somebody, but it was my first wife, and I married, and we lived in Eastern Washington, and I had never really been anywhere. And back in those days, there was no internet, because I'm that old. There was no internet. So there was no just popping online and watching YouTube videos. And, we had magazines, we had books, we had the library. Of course, we had some TV. I didn't watch too much TV. Definitely watched movies, though. I watched movies when I could. But, of course, you had to rent them at Blockbuster. Different story, too. But so I dreamt of, living in California, the popular kids, the cool scene, the sunshine and all these cool people living in California, skateboarding, and all these pretty girls living over there, Of course, like I said, I had a wife, and I was very happy with that. But lived in Eastern Washington. I grew up as an artist. I was an artist my whole life since I was little. I like to draw. I like to paint, sculpt. You name it. As soon as I was able to get a video camera, I had a VHS video camera at one point that I got at a garage sale, and I started making movies and stuff. And I love art. I've always loved art, but I like to take pictures, but I didn't have a camera or anything back then, and it was all film anyways. So in my mid-20s, I worked at a department store in the ladies' shoes, or no, kids shoes department, selling little kids' shoes. And I remember one time this little kid, he was, his name was Spencer Breslin. This kid was named Spencer Breslin. He was in a movie with Bruce Willis. I think it was called The Kid. I don't remember what it was called, but he was in a movie with Bruce Willis, and it was him and his grandma, and they came in to buy shoes, and they came from L.A., and I recognized him, and I'm like, oh my gosh, I recognized this kid, and of course he was a celebrity, but he was just a kid. But it was weird, thinking, oh wow, he came all the way from California, and it seemed like such a big deal to me. I'd never been to I'd been to the ocean because I was born in Seattle, but it was a different ocean. It wasn't the Southern California oceans. I never traveled, never did anything like that. Well, I met this kid Spencer, and then I was just like, wow, my brain just kind of was blown because he was so indifferent traveling because that was just his life. And one of my big dreams growing up was I loved the Muppets. The Muppets were probably one of my favorite things on earth, along with Mr. Rogers and the movie Labyrinth, and basically anything that had imagination is where I lived. I lived in my imagination, and like I said, I was very shy, and I drew all the time, and I disappeared in little imaginary worlds in my brain, and I had a great imagination. But one of my dreams was to somehow move to California, and I wanted to work on the Muppets. I wanted to meet Jim Henson. I just thought what the ultimate dream would be to be a puppeteer, you know. And as I found out later on, I think the Muppets were based in England or something. But I think they had a studio in L.A. Well, I know they did because I found it. But long story short, I wanted to become a puppeteer, but L.A. seemed like a scary place because in the movies, it was gangs, and it was, a lot of scary things, and people talk about smog and this big city, and I didn't really have a good picture of it in my mind. It just seemed like a scary place, but it sounded exciting. It sounded like a place that I wanted to go to. Well, I got my chance to visit there. My ex-wife's mom got married there, and so we got to go to L.A., and I couldn't even believe that I was going to go to Los Angeles. Like, to me, that was like the end-all, be-all. Like, that was it. And so we drove there, and of course, I was dying to go to a theme park because I've always wanted to go to a theme park. And so I decided, okay, if we're going to L.A., I want to go to Disneyland, and I planned it out. I mean, we were only going to be there for like a week or something, but we went, oh God, what we went to Disneyland, we went to Universal Studios, of course we went to all the museums, all the beaches, the observatory, the zoo. I had to go to the zoo because it's one of my favorite things to do. I'm trying to remember. I think we ended up going down to San Diego to SeaWorld. I mean, it was one of the busiest trips ever. But L.A. blew my mind. Like, I saw movie things, movie sets being produced. One of the people that my ex-wife knew, her husband worked on movies. And he was working on the set of The Green Mile, and he was a film editor, is what he was. His name was Bob Lusted, and he edited movies. So he's like, "Why don't you guys come on down to?" I think it was Paramount Pictures at the time, and he's like, "Why don't you guys come on down and you can come on set with me, and I'll show you around." And it was one of the coolest experiences I'd ever had in my life. Like, it was all the dreams that I had, and my mind was just reeling. And he took us to this, I don't remember, it's a Asian restaurant up on the hill right behind Hollywood, Yamashiro. I think it was called Yamashiro. And I really couldn't even believe it. And then he took us to his house in Studio City, and I think it was by one of the movie studios, and it just went on and on. Like, I couldn't even believe this was real. And then, of course, like everything else, this had to end. And so we went back to Spokane, Washington. That's in eastern Washington. And I went back to my normal job, selling kids' shoes. And of course, being an artist, my whole life, everybody says, "Oh, you're a great artist. You should go somewhere. You should move somewhere else." And I'm like, "But I live here. How would I ever go anywhere?" Like I didn't even know what was possible. I never went to college. I didn't have a career. I worked at Kinko's Copies. I sold shoes. Like I had no, career or anything. I thought my dreams were pretty small. In my mind, I had these big, big ideas, but I didn't really think anything was possible. So one day, after meeting that kid, Spencer Breslin, I was selling shoes, and it was a slow day, and I was just sitting there thinking, what if we just sold everything, and we didn't have much. We lived in an apartment, but what if we just sold everything, got in the car, and moved to LA? And I mean, nowadays that seems crazy silly because nobody cares anymore. Like the world has changed. Like to move to LA was basically like to get in a rocket ship and go to the moon for me back then, because I didn't know anybody that was from LA. I didn't meet anybody. I had a couple friends, and they didn't go anywhere either. They'd never been anywhere. None of us had. I don't think I knew anybody. We didn't know rich people. We grew up poor. We didn't know. Like, to us, that was literally like going to the moon. And all of a sudden, I just got this flame in me that said, let's just leave and go. And your friend that knows that's with the movie editor guy, we can stay with her, and I found out, she said, you can come stay with me while you find an apartment. And so I kind of did the math, and I'm like, oh my gosh, if we just saved up like 2 paychecks, and we sold, we just got rid of everything. We didn't have much, and I told my wife, and she's like, oh, okay, let's do this. And so I couldn't even believe it that we were going to leave Spokane. Like, it was blowing my own mind that this was going to happen. Didn't know what was going to happen. Didn't know what we were going to do. I started researching it. I said, we can move to Glendale, California, which is, kind of in the heart, by Burbank and between Pasadena and Burbank and whatnot. And the Glendale Galleria had a department store, Nordstrom, and that's where I was working in Spokane. And my wife actually worked there too. She worked downstairs in one of the women's departments. And I said, we could both transfer, So I started making some phone calls, and I just said, hey, this is what we're doing. We're coming there. Do you have jobs? Could we transfer? And so the people it was Ladies' Shoes that I actually got a job. And they said, well, I think we have a department. Well, when you move to LA, come on down and talk to us. Let's see what happens. So I didn't really have a job, but I thought, I don't know, I think this could work. So I had a little red truck, a little Toyota truck of some sort, or Mazda or something, I don't remember. Anyway, I had a canopy on the back of it, and we shoved everything that we owned in the back of that truck, and it went down to the wheel wells. That's how much was in the truck. Like, literally crammed everything that we owned into that truck. And we had a Papasan chair, put the Papasan chair on the top of the truck, strapped it down. And there's a funny story with that too, but I'll leave that for a different time. But literally, the truck was on the wheel wells, and boom, we were off. We were driving to California. And it was pretty unreal. I'm not going to lie, it was pretty darn unreal. And so we moved out to California, stayed with this friend, Michelle. We got an apartment within a week and a half. She really helped us, look around. And we got an apartment in Glendale, not too far from the Glendale Galleria, which was a great big mall down there. And my wife didn't drive. She didn't have a driver's license. So I wanted something that was close enough so she could walk to work. And we got a job and I ended up getting a job in ladies' shoes. And flash forward, a few years later, I bought a camera. I ended up shooting models. I made a zillion friends online because the internet started, really coming into play. I mean, I guess let me back up. When there was an internet, somewhat, it wasn't what it was today, clearly. But back in Spokane before we left, there was a little bit of an internet. I mean, it wasn't like it was. I don't think YouTube was a thing or anything. But we ended up, moving all around Southern California to Long Beach, Costa Mesa, which is in Orange County. We lived in Burbank. It was an adventure for years and years. I ended up making a zillion friends online because of my photography. I shot hundreds of models. I became quite well known in the photography community for my model work. I shot everything in LA. I shot celebrities, crazy events and parties and brand launches. And, I ended up quitting my job. I ended up becoming a full-time photographer. I mean, and all of those are stories as well. And we spent so much time going to museums and endless, constantly having fun in LA. Like Los Angeles was, it was amazing. And like I say, there's a lot of stories, but I think all of that was to illustrate it's all in the mind. I'm telling you, dreams, your potential, where you go, where you don't go, you determine that. Your life circumstances don't determine that, you do. Because trust me, if anybody was bound to never achieve anything because of their life circumstances, that was me. Because I didn't have anything. I didn't have careers. I didn't have big visions. I just had dreams in my head, but I didn't know how I was ever going to do it because I was shy. I didn't have resources. I didn't have friends. I didn't know how to make friends. I was very insecure. I didn't believe in myself. The only thing I had was the ability to draw, and I didn't even personally think that was very good, but I had to overcome that. I had to overcome it. I had to take a chance. I had to take a chance in life and just say, you know what, I am worth it. I can do something, and I did. I did. It's amazing. If you hear the whole story, it's I'm still pretty amazed at what I was able to accomplish and what I'm accomplishing yet today. I mean, the story didn't end there. But long story short, dreams are possible. Things are possible. Within all the things I've learned to do, I learned to play piano, keyboard, guitar, sing. Like I said, I became a great photographer. There's so many things that I've learned just because I wanted to do it. And I worked up in Alaska twice on the boats in the Bering Sea. I've had some adventures, and in my mind, I still doubt myself sometimes. I still doubt that I can do all the things that I want to do. I have a lot of dreams left. I haven't barely begun yet. But it is interesting what we tell ourselves, what we're capable of, what we're not capable of, physically, mentally. I still have some pretty big dreams in there, as do you all, I'm sure. But I want to encourage you to start thinking outside the box. Think outside of what you can see around you. Sometimes it feels like, for me anyways, if you can't see it, then it's hard to believe that it's possible. But that's the crazy thing. There's so much that's possible, and most of the time you don't see it Because if your dream is big enough, you're not going to see it. It's not going to be around you. It's something outside of you. It's something outside of your scope. So you have to be willing to let go of your fear and your insecurities, and you have to have a little faith in what you're trying to do. But most of all, you have to just take chances. Life is just all about taking chances. I mean, like I've said before, you can walk through a cemetery, or you can think back on all the people you've known in your lifetime. They're gone now. They had dreams just like you did. They had hopes just like you did. And they're gone now, So what are you going to do before it's too late, I mean, you got to take a chance. You're not going to last forever. Things don't last forever. Time just marches on. So why not? Why not just go do it? Go do it. If you feel it, go do it. I ended up getting a divorce, and with my wife now, we went on the adventure of a lifetime. We traveled all over the country, in our car, meeting people on Facebook that we knew from my photography that I'd never met in real life. We met them in person. We had adventure on top of adventure. And, life is just about exploring, finding out about yourself, learning about other people, trying things. I mean, what do you got to lose, I mean, I'm making this podcast right now, or this video, whatever you want to call it. For what? I don't know. Who cares? Just do it, Hit record, do it. Because what do you have to lose? You have zero to lose. But you have everything to gain, Because if nothing else, you walk away with an experience. You walk away with some life experience, some joy, some fun. Who knows? God knows what you're going to walk away with, but try it. You never know. All right, well, I'm just rambling. Hope some of that story made sense. I think one of these days I'm going to take the time to make some notes and stay on track. But I know that this is a great place to practice because not too many people are listening right now, so it doesn't really make a lot of difference. But I still hope that somebody got something out of it, or you enjoyed it or something. But all right, it's Sunday. I actually got to the gym last night, so that was awesome. I'm going to take a recovery day today and then hit it hard tomorrow. All right, so I will see you out there. This is Lloyd from Iron Dog Journey. Peace.